welcome to Out of the Box, the podcast where we talk music, film, and all things pop culture. This week's episode is focused around all things video to do with Matchbox Productions and your man over there, which is Ollie Thomas.
Me. It's all about me.
So, Ollie, how's it feel to be in the hot seat this week?
It's good. You know, it's not every day you get to be on your own podcast, so it's an exciting time. It's also a good day because we just finished shooting, haven't we?
We have, mate,
Our product video. Northern Monk, which means after you finish a beer video, you just get to drink the beer.
Which is always a bonus.
Now, I've not tried this yet, have you?
I've not tried this yet, no.
Right, so this is non-alcoholic pale ale.
Holy Faith, it's called.
Right, give it a go.
Cheers. Whoa, hold your
Sorry,
horses.
cheers.
It's nice, actually.
It just tastes like
Tastes like
it
Faith.
just tastes like Faith, yeah.
Tastes like Faith with a non-alcoholic twist.
It doesn't taste non-alcoholic though.
No, it's very nice, that.
Good.
Sure,
Right.
that'll be go down nicely during this
Yeah,
podcast.
it will. Right. So
So-
I've left this all in your hands, Joe. So
Yeah, man. So I've I thought for the start of the podcast, we'll start at the start. So how did you start in the world of video? Take us back.
well, when I was born, no, I'm joking. It's a weird question, really, because remember when I did that BBC thing the other day? That was one of the questions of how did you get into your sort of industry and did you always want to do it? And the answer was kind of no, really. I didn't always know that I wanted to get into film or TV or, you know, camera operating or editing or whatever. Just kind of always did in high school what I enjoyed, really. But my dad always had a camera on holiday.
Yeah.
And my dad always wanted, like, the best camera as well. So, like, the next year, for the next holiday, he'd have a new camera. And it was, like, back when, like, DSLRs were, like, a big, and I always wanted to have a go, but it was, like, this super expensive camera at the time that I thought was, like, you know, didn't want to touch and stuff. And then the next year, you have a new camera with a new thing. And I think I used to love being on holiday and stuff and, like, new cameras and stuff. And that's where it started. And my mum and dad bought me a camcorder.
Yeah.
It's actually come full circle because I found that in my loft. And now we use that on every single shoot we do.
way,
That's
yeah.
the camera, that
Cool.
Panasonic.
The dirt cam.
Yeah.
What we use as a dirt cam now was
scratch
once
camera. Yeah.
the full sort of shebang, wasn't it?
Yes, that was the first camera. I got a little camcorder. And at the time, that was like, you know, expensive and really good. And you just did the standard, like, you know, film on holiday and film and your dog. And then I got a stills camera that my dad got from work. And I'll just go and take photos of my dog. So, you know, that's how I've sort of started to enjoy it. But it was never like a thing I did.
Yeah.
Obviously went to high school and then it became a subject. You know, media as an industry was growing, so you could take it now, which I guess you've not always been able to do. And then just from there, really, so did it in GCSE, enjoyed it, thought, what do I want to do in A-level? Something I enjoy. Did it at A-level. And then it got to the end of A-levels and I thought, what do I want to do? To go to university. And at the time, that's what I was enjoying the most. At this point, I'd done a few projects that had, you know, music videos with bands I've been in or just bits and bobs, really. And I just thought, if I can go and learn this more because I'm enjoying it, then that's what I did. So I went to university, studied media production for 3 years, got my degree in it. And that's pretty much it, really. Didn't always know what I wanted to do, but I just enjoyed doing it.
Yeah. So at uni, did you have like a main focus around sort of music videos, or did you like explore like a bit of more of a wide range in the media world?
So the course was good because it was media production as opposed to doing like a TV degree or a film degree. So over the 3 years, it was broken up into script writing, radio, TV, and like digital publishing. So you did all those four for 2 years. And then in your third year, you got to get rid of two. So I dropped script writing, I dropped radio, and I did digital publishing, and I did TV production. So digital publishing was like making a magazine and a website.
Yeah.
And your TV, we did 3 across a year. So the first year was a documentary. The second year was, first year was a music video, second year was a documentary, and third year was a short film. So took those on, and mine were always based around music. My website was a music website about new music. A magazine was a magazine about new music. Music we did in first year was fine. Second year we did documentary, was really cool. I did mine on the new music scene in Manchester.
Love that.
And the third year we did a short film. So a good range, but also at times I felt like I'd be sat in script writing like I don't enjoy script writing because of this thing that I have of if I don't enjoy it, I'm not going to want to put loads of hours into it. And I wasn't enjoying script writing, so I didn't put effort into script writing, which is probably bad. I should put effort into whatever, but things I started to enjoy. So the music video was like great.
Sometimes you're just naturally drawn to the subjects, aren't you? So
yeah, of course, but it was good to get like sort of wide range of it and stuff, and obviously like doing like radio and stuff was quite cool. But you did get to sort of funnel down as the years went through your university course, which was good.
And it's kind of come full circle really now, because sort of our business at the start of when we sort of first formed, obviously we've gone over this in the previous podcasts, but our sort of business really started very music centric, didn't it? So starting with music videos and things like that, and obviously you've been able to probably use your skills that you learnt in the past and sort of gain more going forward. But just one thing you said then was obviously media is like a big part of obviously culture now, isn't it? Like it's everywhere. Like social media is huge, and just everything is based around visual sort of mediums. So with like the rise of YouTube and things like that, I wanted to ask you, like, what are your biggest influences? Who are your biggest influences? Or anyone in particular that you sort of like seeing doing the kind of things that you wanted to do, or sort of the more YouTube sort of side of things? Who were you watching like as you were sort of getting into your industry, and who influenced you the most?
In high school, it was watching films like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah.
So watching Edgar Wright films. So when like that trilogy came out of like, Hot for Shaun of the Dead and The World's End, that was like huge because all I wanted to do was make videos like that. And I remember my first year at uni, my first project, you had to do sort of like, they wanted to see what you could do, and it was about, you could do it about anything. And I did about moving into my flat, and it was in that style of like quick cuts and on your accelerator and taking your keys out of the car and stuff. So at the time, that was like, again, I just loved those films. I loved that style. So what did I do? I wanted to make videos like that. And then in terms of like the YouTube world and stuff, I mean, I think anyone our age or maybe a bit, older at the time of like 2016 when Casey Neistat was doing his like YouTube vlogs, for me that was like the peak of YouTube. And I think anyone who's probably at our age in this industry now probably can picture themselves back in 2016 watching all those videos, like the quality, the sort of like charisma of it, just everything about that YouTube channel just made you want to go and buy a camera and want to make videos. So that was big. And then as I've got a bit older, I've just followed different YouTubers and stuff and different styles and stuff. Like I've always loved Danny Gavert's videos for like a couple of years now, which I've always said to you, like that style, and just sort of taking, you don't want to copy anyone, knows what I learned. So in university when I did that video, I just wanted to copy Edgar Wright, and then when I was watching Casey Neistat videos, I just wanted to copy Casey Neistat, which is fine at the time, but then you learn to sort of, it's okay to take influences, but then sort of find your own sort of style and stuff. And that's what I hope to do this year with like my own YouTube channel. I've been saying to you for 2 years that I'll do it. Yeah. And I've started it. Finally. I made 2 videos last night, which I was super proud about because I actually got off the sofa and did it. And I was thinking to myself, and as I was reading what I'd wrote and reading the sort of things I was talking about, I felt myself thinking, don't try and not be yourself, let it come naturally and stuff. And as I used my script as like a prompt and just started talking, I found myself settling into it and stuff. And that's really important to sort of like, take influences but sort of find your own style. That's what I hope to do with these videos that I'm doing. Yeah, sweet. There's a couple for me as well that, like, obviously when we started the business together and stuff, that you sort of got me onto was the whole Peter McKinnon, Matty Hapoya, and then we watched a lot of like North Borders and all of the Australian lads that are in his sort of little clique and stuff, which were kind of cool as well, weren't they? I suppose like Peter McKinnon, obviously, I don't want to say he's a bit of a sellout, but I feel like maybe now he's sold out a little bit and he's all about the placement and stuff, whereas in the past, like a few years ago, maybe he was more focused on like actual sort of educational side of things and teaching you about things. And
What's your
Yeah,
opinion?
it probably felt a bit more authentic
Yeah.
back in the day, but as you probably grow that audience, it's probably hard to sort of say no to certain things and offers and stuff. And I still watch some of his videos and I still enjoy it, but I think I much preferred. I started to go off Pete McKinnon when I found Danny Gevirtz.
Yeah.
Because Danny Gevirtz's channel at the time was like 50,000 subscribers, and I was watching his channel grow, and it just felt more authentic. And then switching to watch a Pete McKinnon video, there's like a big difference and stuff, and I just found myself watching more of the smaller YouTubers who were growing and felt a bit more real. But
yeah,
I suppose that's what it is.
I think if you look at like the actual creator side of things and look at his end products of stuff, so I know like Peter McKinnon went on tour with Angels and Airwaves and sort of the stuff that he's brought out from that and sort of his product, like the Bucket Shop, for example,
his professional stuff.
Yeah, his actual professional work. I feel like you could probably take a lot of influence from, because it is impeccable, isn't it?
Yeah.
And same with Matty Apoya as well. Like obviously them two did a lot together at the start, and but yeah, I suppose
the professional stuff I still watch, and I don't think he's put that Angels and Airways documentary out. He's been filming it for years. So when it does come out, I'll watch it, and I know it'll be amazing. But the sort of YouTubey side, I do prefer watching the sort of smaller channels now that just don't have the audience to not be themselves or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah. Sweet. So my next question for you, it feels like an interview this week, but we're just going to get through some questions and get some information for all of our listeners. So I wanted to ask you, go-to camera setup, because this is something that obviously a lot of people will be interested in. You see a lot of people on YouTube doing like camera setups and stuff, and obviously you told me before that one of the videos coming up for yourself may or may not be what's in my camera bag.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
I thought, why not get it live on air? So go-to camera setup, and this is obviously this podcast is based predominantly around video.
Yeah,
but we'll slip in a photo setup there as well.
Yeah, is this as in I could just have one setup for everything, or literally everything I carry to a shoot?
So like if you had to take one rig, on a shoot for video and then for photo.
Right, so
one camera, one lens, whether you want to take a monitor, I don't know, accessories. You tell me your setup.
So for our music videos and stuff and our commercial stuff, we shoot everything on the C70, don't we?
Yeah.
Like the product video we shot today, Canon C70, and then one lens. So we shot it on the 7200 for a product video. But if we're doing a music video, I'd just take the lens that we use 90% of the time, which is that 18-35.
Yeah.
Sigma 1.8. So we Canon C70, Sigma 1.8, 18-35, and then we have a monitor, top handle, and we can build it out. But if I didn't know what I was shooting now, and you said just take a camera, a lens, I would just take the C70 body and the 18-35. I wouldn't put top handle on it just in case.
Yeah.
And then for photo, we use Canon R6. We are very much into the Canon system, aren't we?
Yeah, very much so.
Not on purpose, but we just sort of found ourselves buying one camera, and then you buy a lens, and next thing you know, you've got everything Canon. So Canon R6, and I'd take that 18-35 as well.
Yeah.
What I would say though is if you're someone thinking, what do I buy first, and what lens do I buy first, or what camera do I buy first, I'd say firstly just buy whatever in your budget and just make it work for you. Even if that's your phone in your pocket, like you don't need a cinema camera. Obviously we got working and chose to invest where we invested. We don't need a big rig. You don't need the most expensive lens. Just do what's like. There's times where I go away and I just don't take my camera.
Yeah.
And I take photos, and once I've edited them and stuff, no one's really gonna know to a certain extent for like travel stuff as well. And then I'd say choose a lens. And if you're starting out with a camera body and choose a lens, I'd just say choose one lens and choose like a prime and just use that for 6 months. So when we started, we had the R6 and we had a 35mm, and I shot all my photos, all my music videos, everything on that one body and one lens. It just sort of like forced me to get used to like coming over challenges and coming over difficulties without having like 10 lenses in my bag and be like, oh, I'm stuck with this. Oh, I'll just change lenses. It's like, right, I'm stuck with this. How can I make that work?
I suppose it forces you to get creative, doesn't it, with your shots, rather than think, oh, how can I make this next shot different by, oh, I'll just swap a lens and maybe just zoom in or do something a little bit different like that. It sort of forces you to get a bit of a different perspective by just using your one lens, like your fixed focal length, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah.
So, yeah. That kind of leads me on to my next point. which was you see a lot of these YouTubers do this as well, but I wanted to ask you like a holy grail of lenses. So like in terms of like focus length or aperture, all of the details, like what would be your 3 go-to? So say for example, you go on a shoot and you want to cover a wide range. What would be the sort of 3 focal lengths that you would pick? Of like a wide,
Yeah.
like your mid shot, and then like a zoom.
If I was doing it like primes, you have to choose primes or zooms. Just
any. What would you choose? Like any? That is your sort of creative judgment, or your judgment in terms of like weight.
Yeah.
Some of them are pretty heavy.
If I had to choose now, with what we have as well, I'd choose like a wide-ish zoom lens, like a 16-35, or our 18-35 would probably do the job. A nice, probably prime 50mm.
Yeah.
And then a 70-200.
Yeah.
Because you literally answered the question. You just cover all aspects. If you have 16-35, your widest point, all the way through to 200mm, you cover everything. So when we do our GB Ultra, like ultra marathons and stuff, that's what we take.
Yeah.
I film the 18-35. You have a 70-200 on your camera mainly. And then we've got like a nice midpoint and like a 50mm if we need it.
Yeah. So I actually read in the news this week that Sigma are releasing a 60-600mm lens.
Yeah, can you imagine carrying that in your backpack?
Yeah, I think it comes with its own flight case, which is pretty mental. And it is a big boy of a lens. It is huge. Go and check it out if you've not seen it. Honestly, it's big. But I suppose if you wanted something that covered a wide range of focal lenses and you've got a spare 10 grand,
10
and the rest knocking about, I don't actually know if they've released the price of it yet. It's only coming out on, they will have done. It came out on the 12th of January this year, so I'm not actually sure, but it'll be. I think it's up in that region. Yeah.
Put it in the camera bag.
I know. So, from everything you've learnt this year, on the jobs you've been, so for example, like you more commercial jobs, your music video jobs, what are 3 sort of camera tips that you've learnt the most, or you would like advise someone on if someone new was starting, like in terms of like, I don't know, anything really, like just the biggest tips that you've learnt from in terms of your actual practical shooting, not in terms of like videoing in general, just in terms of like creative decisions, anything like that sort of thing.
So in terms of gear, I think if you're starting out, what I said before about the lens really did me like a lot of favours. Choose one lens and don't overcrowd yourself with gear. We had one lens, one camera body. Make it work. Come across challenges and figure them out with what you've got. And then second one, probably just try things. Just get creative. It's probably talking mainly from like a music video perspective, would be to just make mistakes. Do one video and don't just think it's amazing. Don't like sort of think about it, what you've made and what could be better. Sort of analyze your work, as what I tried to do. So after a music video, really liked that, but I probably could have done this better. But by trying things, I wouldn't have made the mistake. And you try shots and they don't work. You get back to your computer and they don't work. And it's like, right, I've tried it, so I know either it doesn't work next time, or next time do it this way and it might work.
Yeah.
And then the third one is to just work with who's around you. Communicate with people on set and stuff. If you're in a big production especially, that's really important. But even if it's just a few people on set, communicate with the band, get a good rapport with the people you're working with, so that like your communication on the day is good. There's nothing worse than turning up with a band and sort of starting to film straight away and you've never really met them before, and you start filming and you're not getting a good reaction back. So I'd just say communicate with the people you're working with, communicate with the people around you, and sort of take ideas and stuff and work them in and just sort of work together. But if you get in a situation where you don't know each other and it's awkward, especially if like taking photos and you know, if you're taking photos of an artist and you have to ask them to like, you know, well, do some different poses and stuff, you need to have that sort of rapport and relationship to be able to say, well, why don't we try this, or why don't we do that? Because if it's really awkward, you might be like,
I suppose,
this? And then the photos reflect that. So I'd just say try and work the best with the people around you.
Yeah. Sweet. So obviously we've gone over, we've worked on a few different sort of ranges of video types this year, from like music type to commercial type. We've done like sports, which with the GB Ultras and things like that, and some earlier like when in the business we did sort of boxing kind of things and product sort of photography and videography. But without crossing over into last week's episode too much, I wanted to ask what your favourite type of video job is, but obviously we kind of covered that last week, so let's get a bit more specific this week. Like,
Right, okay.
let's get into the nitty gritty of why and things like that.
Okay, so last week I said I'd really like filming live stuff, and the reasons were, it's live. Obviously, you can't do it again. It's exciting being involved in like a gig environment. But another job that I've really enjoyed doing, and something I've enjoyed even much more recently, is filming interviews. It's a bit more relaxed because you've got your setup time, like working with your lighting and stuff, doing different styles of interviews. Like, is it moody? Is it bright? Is it like happy and sort of thing? Is it a bit like grittier and stuff? And then you set your cameras, and the other good thing is you as long as your interview is about something good, is you get some interesting stories, interesting things to learn about. So, filming an interview at City last week at the Etihad and stuff, and that was all about nutrition and fitness. So they sat down on the first day with some of the players, and how it was with Gatorade, and how how Gatorade helps them. And then on the second day, we sat down with like 3 different people in the club about nutrition, and each person was about the food that they eat, and then we went and did one about pre-warm-up stuff, and it was just really interesting. And it was like still quite on the fly, and it's just exciting to talk to different people within different industries and stuff, and I thought it was really exciting. So I've really enjoyed sort of that this year.
Was that with the actual players, or was that with like nutritionalists that work at City and things like that? Or
both. So the first day was with just the players about what they do, like warm up and stuff, and the second day was with staff. Really cool. Really cool. Interesting.
And then obviously we did the interviews with Jess Mead for her play.
At the Everyman.
And sort of hearing the stories from like the producer and the actual writer of the play. Being in a theatre setting was a little bit different as well for us, wasn't it? Rather than being in a theatre, people think that like theatres and gigs some sort of crossover, but they're completely different worlds, aren't they? So it was interesting being in that environment as well.
Just like that, and being able to, but again, that works back to like talking to people and stuff, because I hadn't done an interview before to that point, I think, where I was also leading the questions, and you have to you get through questions quick, and you have to sort of be approachable and make sure you're asking the right questions and stuff. So they're quite difficult, but working out your lighting and stuff, setting your cameras in a bit more of a controlled environment. I'd say that's something I've really enjoyed this year.
So you kind of touched on it earlier on in our conversation today, but what are the biggest challenges you face on set? Obviously, before you mentioned about like getting a good rapport with your clients so that things aren't awkward and things like that on photo shoots and video shoots. But obviously, apart from that, what would you say like the biggest challenges you have faced on set?
Probably overcoming when things go wrong. Because they will. And again, it's just working with the people. Like if something goes wrong, you've got to maintain that sort of like calmness and composure, and make sure that what you're doing and what's gone wrong isn't going to affect the day. Because things go wrong, whether something breaks, something falls, or something runs over for time, or maybe someone doesn't turn up, or someone's late, and you've only got an hour left, but you need 2 hours of filming. It's about sort of working with the people around you and sort of being like, right, okay, we are where we are. What can we do to get back on track and stuff? Other difficulties, it often is with people, is make sure you can work well with people.
I think a big part of both of our jobs, actually, like me in the studio and you in video and photo and stuff, I think a big part of our jobs is people management, and people don't recognise that. Like, when you go up to someone and say you're a videographer or you're an audio engineer, like you don't seem to sort of immediately think of those things, because at the end of the day, like that isn't really your job. But it is your job at the same time. Like that is part of the job. Like how you handle people. Like for example, like I'm not afraid to admit that I've been in a session before, recorded like the best take ever, and where is it? It's gone. It's not saved, or something's gone wrong. The session's like gone, or the session's crashed or whatever. And it's like you have to actually like tell them like, that was really, really good take that. However, it's gone. So we're gonna have to do that again. I suppose that's a similar for video as well. Like say if your SD card limit or something stops. Like I know we've shot a couple of live videos for bands, and obviously because we're running and gunning everywhere. We've got like 4 cameras. There's only 2 bodies, and we've had to leave some unmanned. And the unmanned cameras have like cut out, or because of the floor in the venue being suspended, it's like it looks like you're watching like something vibrating like mad. And it's like the whole sort of like dealing with the not the repercussions, because it's not detrimental, but it's the whole sort of people management side of it, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's why as well, like some of the videos where I'm directing and stuff, you have a bit more responsibility as well, which is like taking on that responsibility of being the one that has to say, come on, let's get back on track, or this has happened, or whatever. So it's just the difficulties you'll face is dealing with things that go wrong, but it's about how you get past them, really. Because when the final video comes out, as long as you don't know, as long as it doesn't affect the final video, then you're fine.
So I've got another question for you, and it's sort of for like new beginners or people starting in the industry or working in the industry. Is how sort of do you get jobs? How do you go out and find work, or does the work come to you, or what would you say? How would you sell yourself?
I think you've had to be patient at first. So work with the people you know. Obviously, if you're starting out and you want to get into music videos, if you've got a friend that's in a band, you'll offer them a music video.
Yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean you need to work for free or anything like that, but work with who's closest to you, and most importantly, build your portfolio. So for example, best example is Nolan Monk. So we decided that we really had this great idea and we felt like we had the ability to shoot product videos, but we can't go to a beer company and say, we want you to pay us X amount for a product video, and they'll say, oh great, what work you done in the past? And we say,
yeah, about that.
So work with what's closest. So we got in touch and said, we want to make one for you, and then that was part of our portfolio then. It's the same with, music videos or whatever it is. Work with your friends. If you've got 10 mates that are in 10 bands, work with those 10 bands, either reduced rates or maybe the first couple can be for free, just so you can build a portfolio. And then what happened then is that those bands will know people in bands, and will know people in bands, and then soon enough, word of mouth will help you a huge amount. Build a reputation and build your brand. And your brand doesn't mean like, what your logo is. Yeah. Your brand means like what people think of when they think of you as a producer, as a person, whatever. So work with the people close to you. You don't need to go a million miles, because you'll find that if you're shooting music videos or you want to start taking photos of bands or live shows, whatever, offer your services to people you know. Yeah. And then hopefully they'll say good things about you, and that'll expand. In more of the corporate world, so for our beer companies that we work with, or maybe for the GB Ultras and stuff, the marathons, the sports companies that we work with, what you're trying to do there and how I'd sell yourself is that you're not selling the final product. So if I came to your website and said, oh, I'm going to make you the best video ever, and it's going to sell you 1,000 t-shirts, that's not going to work. What you're trying to sell is the problem you're trying to fix. So sell yourself and sell your video as a solution, not an end product. So rather than being like, oh yeah, this video is going to sell out your t-shirts, what you would say is, oh, I've been on your website and I've noticed that, you've not really got much video content on there, and the average person spends 20 seconds on a website homepage. If you've got a video on there, it's more engaging, they'll spend much longer, and it can help convert into real sales. And you're selling sort of a solution and what you can offer, as opposed to like the final product. So for music videos or artists, you're selling a way to build your social media, you're selling a way to show a different side to you, you're showing a way to, or you should have behind the scenes videos because they're great and you need content. It's like, no, you need behind the scenes videos because you want to show the personality side of you as opposed to the professional side of you. Yeah, definitely. So use your videos and use yourself as a solution, not an end product. Yeah.
So this kind of relates back to sort of your influences, and it sort of kind of can sort of lean into that a little bit, but obviously we're focused on you. This episode is about you.
It is.
It's all about you.
Yes.
You narcissistic sod. So I wanted to ask about your signature edit styles or shooting styles in terms of video. So obviously I've noticed as working with you that you've sort of like got a bit of a signature sort of look and the way you edit things. I just wondered if you could sort of like consciously sort of know that, or if you can explain sort of your process and how you achieve that, or where that comes from. I don't know really.
Well, I can't pinpoint, like, I don't think I could say, oh, my style is this, because you said that, and I was like, I don't know.
No. I think your edit style, so what I've noticed is like, like quick cuts, sort of in your music videos, it's always like quite sort of like close in, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Shooting tight.
I'd probably say when shooting, my favourite things are handheld, and I love tight shots.
Yeah.
But then I also like the extreme of really, really wides.
Yeah.
So, but like 10 million, I love using that. But
Yeah.
I also love shooting really tight. Quite like, I'd say gritty and handheldy.
Yeah.
Fast-pacey, a bit hectic and stuff. Especially for like the heavier stuff.
Yeah.
I like leaning into that, so I'd never use like a gimbal on like, like a heavier band and stuff. So I'd say handheld and like a gritty look and feel to it is probably.
I think the sort of style, and this sort of like goes through to pictures and sort of like our personal sort of enjoyment in terms of the way like what we like watching and seeing photographs as well. It's sort of the whole sort of like vintage sort of style as well. I think that's kind of like a bit something
nostalgia.
Yeah, sort of like the grain and sort of like the dust and making things like you say, it's something that's a bit gritty, but used on like, say for example, Jess Louise's music video that you shot.
Yes.
When you use it on that, it's not like gritty. It's not like dark and gritty, like dingy. It's like, it just feels like it gives you that sort of element of nostalgia, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's sort of become kind of a bit of a stylistic feature for you as well.
Yeah. In terms of process as well, I don't know. It all depends on the song and stuff. Every song's different. Some require a faster pace. It's about sort of learning what the video wants. It's like the GB Ultra stuff that needs to be quite fast paced. You're shooting like a marathon. You're selling, this video of people hiking up a mountain and running and stuff. And a lot of the time, people are quite tired when it gets to mile 40. But in the edit, you've got to keep the energy up. You can't see someone walking because it'll just slow the edit right down.
Yeah.
But keeping the pace not up in your videos, right? Not keeping the pace of where it should be. So, we did a music video where we had really long held shots that felt too long, and you were like hanging on the edge of your seat. But that was
Shirts for Pale People sort of screams that.
That's the video I'm talking about. So that's the sort of feeling that you want in certain videos. It all depends. So you have to match the pace to the final product.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'll watch an edit and be like, oh, it's not fast enough. You'll go back and you'll really speed it up. You'll put loads in, and then personally I'll go back and I'll be like, this is just too much, too fast, too much going on. Sometimes the hardest shots to achieve, and the hardest edits to do are the ones that just flow slowly. I'm not a massive fan of you when you watch these like, F1 videos and it's like and there's like tires spinning, because to me I just all the hyperlapses and stuff for like a million things in a city looks like masking and it's like, well, I don't know where I am.
Yeah.
And that's a personal preference. Some of those are hard to do and they're amazing, but for me I prefer like a good mix where the video follows the music. So if it's slow, it feels slow and it's paced. And then there's times for quick stuff and quick cuts and stuff.
I feel like if you wanted a perfect example of how you've done that and achieved it, and I'm not blowing smoke up your ass here, but Polka's music video, Slow Heel, that's a perfect example of that, because obviously at the start, the whole sort of start of the video was actually shot on sticks, wasn't it? Like,
yeah.
And sort of like again, like the sort of like hanging on shots that feel like they're a bit too long.
Yeah.
But kind of work, and then when it gets to the breakdown at the end, that's when you take it off the sticks and go absolutely nuts.
Yeah, and all the lights change and stuff.
And it really works.
I remember the conversation I had with the band, and I sent them the edit, and they really liked it and stuff. And then when I was back with them and stuff, just like hanging out, whatever, talking, they said, do you think that bit could be a bit faster? And I said, well, it can if you want. But I said the reason why I've done it like this is because it makes the end better.
Yeah.
I said if the start was all hectic and loads going on, you'd get to the end when it gets hectic and the juxtaposition wouldn't be as much. Whereas like it's all on sticks, it's all really slow, lots of slow zooms, not much movement, and then it just hits, and that's just what felt right for that video.
Another similar one was How to Start a Fire with McRae.
Yeah.
That was kind of a similar vibe where sort of the visual effects sort of created that sort of snappiness at the end of theirs, wasn't it? And with like the sort of like shot within shots kind of vibe, and the whole colour change and stuff. sort of, I suppose that can be a stylistic feature for you, and where you've merged two of like the hanging on shots and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's always about lending yourself to what the video wants. And like everyone will have their own style, and I'll probably use similar effects in a lot of videos and stuff, but every project is probably different.
Yeah, definitely.
But just finding, you're not going to find it unless you try different things.
Well, I think my next point is it is video related and it is photo related as well, but it's a bit more on a personal sort of side of things. And obviously we touched on it in the last podcast, in a previous podcast, sorry. But you are going to Iceland this year.
Yes.
How are you feeling about that? Are you excited?
Honestly, I've never been more excited for anything ever. Genuinely, like, I'm so excited.
So obviously the question for me is like, obviously you're excited for your holiday, but obviously taking a camera. Are you going to be taking a camera?
I'm going to be taking every single piece of equipment I can fit my camera.
I already knew the answer to that question, which is why I asked it.
I've sold it to Laura as we're going on this really nice romantic trip around Iceland. When the small print, it's just photography trip.
What are you like hoping to sort of like capture when you're over there? Are you going to be doing videos, short form, long form? What's the sort of plan? Have you got in your head like? Just tell Laura before she listens to the end of this part of the podcast. Is just like, Laura, just if you're listening, just zone out here.
I don't know. I think the real reason why I'm so excited for Iceland is I feel like I've never had a holiday that's just like no restrictions, no barriers, and I've been to some really exciting places, but always, I can't just get in the car and go wherever. Whereas this time we've hired a car already, we're driving the whole country, and if one day we want to go and do that instead of that, we can. So I'm looking forward to just documenting like a literal adventure that I've never had before. I'm really, really excited to just get in the car and drive to somewhere, do whatever it is, get in the car and drive somewhere else. There's a sign that says this is happening this way, so we go that way. That's what I'm really excited for. And I'd like to make a large video about it. I'd like to make a video about what I've learned of the trip, because it's quite like a famous trip. I'd like to do like a full video about what I learned, where I did a full itinerary trip, full breakdown. I'd like to make videos while I'm there. I don't know, I'm just excited to just explore and just do whatever, really.
And this is a bit of a plug for your YouTube now, but obviously, as you mentioned before, like, you're starting your YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Can we expect to see sort of videos come out on that anytime soon, or?
Yeah, so I did 2 videos last night. One was a sort of like brief overview, like really short video about what the channel's going to be. And what I basically said in that video is that I'm going to just not, what you call it?
Like funnel in too much.
Yeah, so it's not going to be just an educational channel about cameras. So it's not just going to be a travel video. It's just going to be whatever I feel like posting. So like, behind the scenes of our work, behind the scenes of our videos. But then say if we do a music video that has a really cool lighting setup, might do a video that's behind the scenes of the whole day, but then a specific video about how we lit it, why we lit it that way. But then I'll also be putting travel videos on there and stuff. So just kind of, I've always said to you, the reason I want to start it is to help document what I'm doing more.
Yeah.
And be able to look back, whether that's professionally and personally. So I just want this as like a platform to do that.
Yeah.
And Iceland, obviously, I can hopefully make, I might make educational videos of while I'm there of why I'm taking a photo of the mountain in this way. I don't know, do you know what I mean?
The waterfall in a, what do you call it, like show such slow speed kind of vibe.
Maybe, yeah.
Well, that comes to the end of our podcast for this week. As always, thank you very much for listening and tuning in. Anything for you to say, Ollie?
Yeah, no, it's a pretty similar thing. I'm just levered off this.
This 0% alcohol.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you very much. You can check us out on YouTube and Spotify. So if you're here listening on Spotify, go watch the video on YouTube. Or if you're watching the YouTube, you can go and listen to us on Spotify. Like, how good's that? And Apple Podcasts and all of the regular streaming services that you can catch us on. So nice one, and we will catch you next week where we have an exciting guest. So be sure to go and watch/listen to that one.
Yep, cool.
Thank you very much.